Okay. Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, Classic, Let's No Classic. This is episode number 3209, double number 3103. We've got two DC trades here. First up is Showcase presents The House of Mystery, Volume 2, which contained issues 196 to 211. Like, wow, that's a very short amount of issues. It is. And like in the case of Volume 3, some of the issues are reprints. Like in the case of issue 185, one of the stories is a reprint. So, mostly you have these people doing their issues. You have Bat of Hell, written by Jack Orton and art by Nestor Redondo. Fantastic Wishing Well, that's a reprint from House Secrets 14. These Old Things Forgotten. No credit to the writer for this one, though there is artwork here by the late Bernie Wrightstein. Who Am I? This was reprinted from Tales Unexpected number 11. Trick or Treat. No credit to the writer here. Artwork by Michael Wimkuda. For this from 185 to 186, we have The Girl and Her Dog, written by Jerry Conway and artwork by Gary Marlowe. The Alien Within Me, a reprint from My Greatest Adventure 60. Let's see. There's a couple of puzzle games in here. Dark Journey, reprinted from House Mystery 72. A Witch's Garden of Curses, written by the late Lean Wayne, art by Joe Orlando. The Little People, written by Jack Orsett, art by Lake Gil Kane. Ghost Ship, Jack Orlett, Jack Springsteen. This one, so Mr. Mortem is a reprint from House Mystery number 20. I Wish I May, I Wish I Might, written by Lee Wayne, art by Dick Dillon. House of Horrors, written by Jack Orlock and Nestor Redondo. Guardian of the Past is a reprint from House Secrets number 11. House of Mystery number 198. Yes. Two Lives to Live, Jack Orr and Mike Sorotsky. He adopted a Martian boy. Yeah, this involves aliens. Reprint from Tales of the Unexpected number 28. Revisit. It's a brief thing. Day of the Demon, written by Archie Goodwin, art by Mike Sorotsky. By the way, some of the covers here are done by the late Neil Adams. 199. So Fun, written by Sergio Argios, art by Wally Wood. He Doomed the World, reprinted from My Great Adventure 17. Snow Beast, Lynn Morin, art by Rich Buckler. The Whole Ball of Tin, written by Jerry Conway and Lean Wayne, art by Bob Oscar. The Hunting Wind, reprinted from the Fan Page number 2, probably from the original 50s book. Guys, this features him. From the 200th issue of House Mystery, The Beast of Rain, written by John Bennell, art by Mike W. M. Kula. The Secret of Camp Galaxy, reprinted from House of Secrets number 26. Forbidden Wish, another reprint. Yeah, I'm not sure why they credited the reprints. I would have basically removed them, but nope, they get them in here for reasons. The Forbidden Wish, reprinted from Tales of Unexpected number 7. The Lunatic, written by Jack Orlett, art by Ralph Reese. A Breath of Black Death, written by Jerry Conway as Francis X. Bushmaster. Art by Tony DeZaga. Oh, yeah, the creator of Jonah Hex. A Witch's Garden of Curses, written by Lean Wayne, Joe Orlando. 201. Put Your Trust in a Killer, written by Steve Skeets. Art by Alfredo Balalia. $1 Million Magic, reprinted from House of Mystery number 60. Hail the Conquering Aliens, reprinted from House of Mystery 103. Yeah, this basically was just a guy goes to this town where it's occupied by aliens, and apparently he had papers to be on the street, to walk on the street, which I'm like, that's so stupid. And it turns out that they actually came there because the ship broke down. Yeah, that's the story behind that. The Demon Within, written by Joe Orlando or by John Albeno. John does the plot and script is by John Albeno. Art by the late Jim Aparo, awesome artist. I really wish I met the guy before he passed away in 2005. Tale of Vengeance, written by Joe Albano, art by Sam Gosman. From 202, The Sharing of a Soul, written by Jerry Conway, art by Mike Zawadzki. Deal with the Sorcerer, written by John Beno, art by Nelson Beno. Stay away from me, you might die. Reprinted from My Greatest Adventure number 72. Trick or Treat, probably just a game. It's basically a game. Poster Plague, Steve Skeets, Serge Artanos, which I've heard this guy's a really good artist. Which, given the arc of this book. Phantom on Wheels, reprinted from House of Mystery number 58. 203, The Thousand Eyes of Death, written by Robert Kanigher, and art by Ernie Kuna. It's interesting you still have Robert Kanigher doing some horror stuff, despite the guy's known for doing war stories. Most popularly, Sergeant Rock. He did a lot of Sergeant Rock specials. He wrote pretty much them. And at one point, he claimed to be still editor, despite the fact he wasn't, because it's from Chuck Dixon. So the actual editor was told to leave because, he's still the editor. And then, of course, another guy told him, please get him out of your office because he is not the editor. You are. So the guy pretty much took up a space in the hallway and claimed to be his office. Yes, this is Robert Kanigher when he was much older. And still claimed to be basically in position where he's not in, despite because he was much older at this point. I think maybe, Chuck didn't mention how old he was at this point. My guess, he must have been in his 70s at this point. Possibly. I know the guy passed away in the early 80s. But the guy himself also introduced Chuck Dixon to a method that Chuck Dixon's used for decades, the full script method. Which, get this, according to him, artists we worked at Marvel, when he wanted to use the full script method over the Marvel method, artists were actually open to it. Yes, artists worked at Marvel would rather do full script than the Marvel method. They actually... Yeah, the thing is, not everybody liked the Marvel method, despite the fact Marvel may have claimed that. According to Chuck Dixon, that's not true at all. People at Marvel Comics hated it, and the latest they ever used, the rumor I heard, was actually 1990s. Marvel method is simply, art comes first, then script comes later. That's the Marvel method. Alright. The Golden Doom, written by, actually, it's a reprinted story from House of 64. Almost Human, I think it's a robot, this one. John Beno and Jack Spring. Town of Prey, no credit writer for this one, but artwork by Nestor Ronaldo. For 204. All in the Family, Virgil North, and plot and art by Bernie Wrightstein. I think this may be like the only book now. Later on in the course, he had him do some cover art here too. Realm of Mystics, no credit writer artist. Deal with Demon, Jack Ehrlich and Rin Motor. Die for Magna. Carl Wester does the writing. Alex Nino does the artwork. For 205, The Coffin Creature, written by Mike Flesher. Artwork by Jack Spring. Funny Face, Ian Nelson Bedrell and George Tulloch. Over the High Side, Laurie Sundberg and artwork by Alex Weiss. From 206, A Sentimental Journey, written by Jack Ehrlich, artwork by Bill Payne. The Burning, written by Jack Ehrlich, art by Mike Zawadzki. Yeah, you notice, like, no more reprints. Yes, they stopped doing that. I guess because either they stopped putting in here or they just didn't care. Though they did include some reprints in the very next line for the series for some weird reason. Not sure why. Real Mother, written by Virgil Ronaldo, art by Estando Peredo. 207, Last Ritual, Last Rites, written by Bill Merritt, art by Bill Payne. The Spell, no credit, basically. Actually, that is a game, because it's like 2 pages. The Evil Demon Love People, Sheldon Meyer, art by Jack Spring. Sheldon Meyer, a very well-known artist in the 60s, who actually did the artwork for Bob Kane. He was Bob Kane's ghost artist, because Bob Kane just didn't care to do artwork himself. Yeah, this is a guy who was a dick to Bill Finger for decades, because the fact that he claimed to be the creator of Batman, despite the fact Bill Finger actually created a lot of the aspects of him. So, what was basically Bob Kane's response? Telling Bob Finger to shut up. Yes, Bob Finger's like, I created Batman. He's like, and Bob Kane's like, Shush, shush, shush. No, you did not. I did. And that was a relationship these two had for decades. And it took until 2015 for Bill Finger to finally be recognized as a creator for Batman because of Bob Kane's dickishness he's did over the years. Yes. And here's the thing. If anyone's ever seen Bob Kane's artwork, half the time this guy artwork, this is my honest opinion about Bob Kane's artwork. Like, okay, the artwork on Batman looks fine, but whenever he drew Batman, half the time he forgot to put the bat symbol on the chest. And despite the fact the book was credited basically by the artwork by Bob Kane, Sheridan Meyer actually was the one who did the artwork. The reason why? He is Bob Kane's studio. That's the reason for it. Occasionally man do some writing, but the guys are also good artists too. Jack Springer is the artwork. Anyways, Creator of Evil, written by John Albano, art by E.R. Cruz. The Day the Clock Stopped, written by Robert Kanigher, art by Ruben Nodick. The Air Tour Games. 209, For Money for Love, written by Steve Skeets, art by Alfredo Akita. Maniac, Steve Skeets, Ruben Ayonic. Tomorrow I Hang, E. Nelson Bradwell and Jim Aparo. Yeah, this is an interesting one, per se. It's a short story where, like, a guy is accused of a crime and basically he's about to be hung. And then because he's found to be a noble, it's like, oh, you're not going to hang. You're going to immediately by being beheaded. And you're like, what? Yes, seriously. The Exterminator, written by Michael Fleischer, Maxi Feb, art by Ruby Nars. The Immortal by Jack Ehrlich and Gary Tonick. Body Beautiful, Jack Ehrlich, Jose Odebio. Finally, from 211, Deliver Us from Evil, Jack Ehrlich, Nelson Redondo. Money to Burn, another one, Money to Burn. Actually, that is a game. Holy Change, written by Sheridan Meyer and George Tonick. Yes, basically, a lot of the time, you just have Kane. Now, one story, Kane got involved with the story because of a guy who actually came to visit the house mystery, who later died by being turned liquid in his bedroom. Yes. By the way, this actual one later covers the book, but this on a 9. This book is really good. Give roughly a 10 out of 10. Alright, next up basically we have is Batman Gotham by Gaslight. The Kryptonian Age. The second sequel to the one-shot Gotham by Gaslight. I say it's a second sequel because for some reason, despite the fact Brian Augustine did do an actual sequel to that particular classic story, the story that kicked off the Elseworld stuff, for some reason they don't reprint that one for some weird reason. I don't know why, but they don't. And now you have this new miniseries by Andy Diggle. And it's supposed to go a new Elseworld thing. And the thing is, the story wasn't finished. Because by then it says to be continued, like, wait, what happened? Well, because basically the book is continued as Justice League Gotham by Gaslight. Yes. Yeah, it's roughly 6 issues. But we're introduced to this world a lot of it. Basically, you could say this book is more of an expansion on the original Gotham by Gaslight story. Kind of, yes. So, we start out basically people look like they're settlers sailing someplace with meteor. By the way, this book writes about Kryptonian Age because later in the story we introduce this world's version of Superman, who's actually the sheriff of Smallville, which is a western town. And he's got superpowers. We're also introduced to this world's version of Alan Scott, who is this world's Green Lantern. Yeah, and then, well, first out basically how they first arrived. And then we go to Gotham's Dead in 1983. Yes. Oh, by the way, in case you wonder who was made villain in the original Gotham by Gaslight story, Jack the Ripper. And was somebody that Bruce knew. And the Krypton is like a little museum type of thing. And then we're introduced to this world's version of Catwoman. Yep, Catwoman makes her debut here. I don't remember appearing in the original book. So, Selena calls, this is Selena Kyle, by the way, and she calls the woman Holly, this blonde woman. Yeah, it's Holly Robinson. Holly Robinson is basically a frequent supporting character of Sleek House. Since Ed Brubaker wrote the character back in the early 2000s, basically that's 20 years she's been at. She originally debuted in Action Comics, and then she died at the end of the Catwoman feature, and she was really alive. And then we're introduced to Julia Madison. Who was that? Bruce Wayne's fiance. Yeah, and it's all about stealing stuff here. Now, aside from we're introduced, now we bring in the Batman finally, partway through the story. Yes, and in case you're wondering though, does he still have the same outfit from the original story? Yes, he does. He most certainly does. And then we're introduced to Talia al Ghul. Yes, it's like we're introduced to a lot of known Batman concepts here. Here's a little bit of blood, but yeah, here's a close-up of Batman's suit. Yeah, I gotta admit, it is the same suit, but it's not technically the same character per se. It's an ultimate version of the character. It just they claim it anyways. They promoted their sequel, but it really isn't. It's the second sequel to the series. So, I mentioned Barbados, the demon from Peter Mulligan's story from Dark Knight, Dark City story arc. I believe was from Detective. I think it was Detective, who after that story he left, and then Scott said made Barbados a demon. So yeah, we see all this. We see Mr. Constantine. Yep. Yeah, this guy here is this world's version of John Constantine. And he's able to survive. And apparently he's ordered by the Queen to work for her. And we're introduced to Alfred, I believe he's debuted in the original story. And Julia's still here. And then we're introduced to, okay, those of you curious, who is that? That is this world's version of Wonder Woman. Yep, that's who it is. It's Wonder Woman. This woman armor is Wonder Woman. For some reason, we debut here, and what's the purpose of being here? Stay up the Justice League. That's the whole purpose of it. And then we have Bruce basically matches Malone. On the cover, the Black Cat Cub, and then, well, a guy basically barely surviving anyways. Yeah. More Kryptonite stuff here. And then, of course, people come like, oh, Doom of Krypton. Because basically it's all about the coming of Superman. That's kind of... And then, well, then we debut a person on this tomb with his arm. Who is this? You'll find out in just a minute who this is, because you're like, what? Now, apparently, this guy here with the beard, despite the fact looking at me, could be this world's version of Oliver Queen. This is Alan Scott. Yep, it's Alan Scott. And the scene here is meant to represent, like, giving the ring thing. And it basically, it's like an inspiration from how Jordan Origin Story gave it to Alan Scott for some reason. And after killing some people here, and then bad people up, and eventually we're introduced to the green person. And we're introduced to this world's version of Perry White, who does smoke. Oh yeah, and this actually is Lois Lane with Jimmy Olsen. Yep. And then we're introduced to the Venom of Villainous, which I'm sure it's probably this world's version of Harley Quinn. The Cage of Crocodile, a.k.a. Killer Croc, and the Deadshot, a.k.a. Deadshot. Let's give it, of course, a new age. And then we're introduced to Vic Stone and Lex Luthor, which I can buy this being Lex Luthor because he's bald. And this apparently is Vic Stone. And oh yeah, Lex turns into this world's version of Cyborg. For reasons. Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, we're finally introduced to this world's Superman. And, well, first he's Clark Kent, but yeah, there he is. Toward the end of the story, that's supposed to be about promoting him. And he's a sheriff. Yep. And that was issue 5 of 6. Yes. You would think a book called The Kryptonian Age, they would debut him in issue 1. Oh no. Issue 5 of 6. And then 6 pretty much wraps up the story, kind of. And basically it's like, okay, so there's some fighting here. Eventually by the end of this, you have Superman. But we also debut El Diablo, where basically this guy's based on the West version of the character. I've mentioned about Black Condor. And bring all these characters out here. So you get killed off here, and of course My Spectre. And then the book ends with the debut of this world's Superman. Him putting on the costume first time. No mention of Gary Cape, but yeah, that's Superman. Yep. But kind of interesting though, the fact that they would debut this character here. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. I would need a comment corner, but I'd rather basically my voice for a bit and watch more Kamen Rider Rookie. Okay. I'll talk about the next episode. Okay. So,